Thanks in large part to an outstanding start by Jose Butto, the New York Mets won their third straight series on Sunday. I'll break down what we saw and what's coming next against the Pirates on today's edition of Locked On Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. From brake parts to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that win, so keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit. It's only available to U.S. customers. Sunday was a great day for the New York Mets as they officially retired number 16 for Dwight Gooden, one of the best pitchers in franchise history. I got to say, I have been wrong before. I've been right before. I was wrong when I originally heard the news of Doc and Daryl getting their jerseys retired, and I paused and I questioned it. And that was a mistake on me. I've completely come around on this from everything we've seen over the last couple of days. Dwight Gooden reached the absolute pinnacle with the New York Mets. He was the best pitcher on the planet in a Mets uniform. It's only happened a couple of times. What he did for the Mets was really special. I thought everything that the Mets did to honor him was just, top of the line. Just this franchise is now under Steve Cohen a class act. And I thought it was interesting, in this speech, the one big message that Dwight Gooden was trying to give the fans and the ones in the stadium, every time he brought up those multiple times he pitched for the Yankees, they let him hear it a little bit. And he had to say, whoa, guys, I'm a Met. But what he was trying to really show is that he always wanted this opportunity to retire as a New York Met. And we've seen Dwight come back many times over the years where he would be interviewed by Steve Gelbs or whoever else it was. When Keith got in, I can't remember if he was one of the ones interviewed, but there's been plenty of times where we've seen Dwight Gooden get on SNY broadcasts and be, welcome to Citi Field with open arms. But hearing how many times he called the Mets and tried to come back, for one, it just, paints the past ownership in a certain light that I think we all sort of agree with, as far as feeling that things were not done properly under the Wilpons in the past, and that there was a level of pettiness that they brought to this franchise. To now full circle, Steve Cohen giving Dwight Gooden this honor, having his number retired. It's only fitting. So I'm glad that the Mets did this, and it really was an awesome ceremony. I'm looking forward to seeing Darryl Strawberry's number go up. And then at that time, I'm going to be releasing an article for Just Baseball that I haven't quite completely ironed out yet, but just looking ahead at the other jerseys that will be retired, as Steve Cohen has been going through the process of getting some of these numbers retired. I'll talk about who's next. That's at a later point this summer after Strawberry's number goes up on June 1st. Now let's talk about the baseball game, because fresh off that ceremony, Jose Butto, channeled Dr. K. He went out and struck out the side in the first inning, which was awesome to see. Not with a big 12-6 curveball, but with a disgusting changeup. He actually struck out his first 5 batters, all swinging on the changeup. Second inning, he worked around a leadoff double by Salvador Perez, picked up a couple more strikeouts with that changeup in that inning. Then the third, fourth, and fifth inning, he retired the side in order. He picked up a double play ball to erase a leadoff walk that he had in the fourth, but was really just spotless, and continued to just carve up the Royals until Bobby Witt Jr. tagged him for a double with 2 outs in the sixth. And then he was able to get Vinny Pasquantino to hit a soft line out and get out of the inning. Jose Butto went up against one of the best young pitchers in baseball, and Cole Reagans, a guy that has early Cy Young buzz, really came into the season with AL Cy Young buzz because of how he pitched after getting traded to the Royals last year for Aroldis Chapman. And I've circled this game since the series started. I said, it's going to be tough to beat Cole Reagans. He's really good. And he was great. But Jose Butto pitched him to a draw, and overall his numbers looked a little bit better. Just 2 hits allowed, 1 walk, which again, he erased with a double play ball, 9 strikeouts. That's how you pay tribute to Doc Gooden. And only needed 91 pitches to get through those 6 innings. So fantastic stuff by Butto. I want to talk about his journey a little bit more in the next segment because I know a lot of people know about Jose Butto, but they might not know about the long road that it has been as far as having to develop over years in the Mets system. And now looking ahead, he looks like a guy that could be a big, big piece of this team this year. So that was the overall big takeaway. But you go beyond that, and the Mets were fortunate that they were able to scratch a couple runs late in the game and get a victory. And it was just a well-pitched ball game. This is a team that has been carried by their lineup a little bit lately. That's been so good. It's good to see that the pitching come through in a game where the Mets just could not score against a really good pitcher. They found their way. Now, Reagans, he had 1 inning where you thought the Mets were going to get him. That was in the 4th inning when they had 2 runners in scoring position with nobody out. But they failed to score. They had Marte on 3rd, Lindor on 2nd. There was a play that Hunter Renfroe made an error on where he didn't field it cleanly that allowed Marte. I guess Marte was going to go 1st to 3rd anyway. Renfroe was trying to make a play on him and then misplayed it. The Mets did not want to test Renfroe's arm, but they did want to test MJ Melendez's arm. It was a shallow hit ball into left field with 1 out, and they let Marte try to score on it. And Melendez, to his credit, who's typically not a great defensive player, made a strong throw. Marte got thrown out at the plate, and that ended the Mets' one real threat. They got 2 runners on in the 5th and the 6th, but nobody got to 3rd base. And then they finally got into the bullpen in the 7th inning, but again couldn't score, though they did load the bases. Brett Beatty with a hit. Zach Short started the game, so this is only the 2nd game all year that Beatty has not started. And if this is Zach Short's role, it's a tough one, because if the only time he gets in, and it's once every week, if that, maybe stretching on once every 10 days, is facing the toughest left-handed pitchers in baseball that the Mets are willing to give Beatty a day on, it's a tough role. And he went 0-for-2 with 2 strikeouts. Short did. He did narrowly miss, I should say, a double down the left field line, but then ended up striking out. So not a good day for Short, but when Reagans came out, Beatty came in. You got a pinch hit single. Brandon Nimmo got a base hit as well. Starling Marte walked to load the bases for Francisco Lindor with 2 outs, but ultimately he popped out, and the Mets were unable to score that inning. 8th inning, the Mets finally broke through, in large part thanks to 4 walks by Royals reliever Chris Stratton. There was 1 hit in that inning, and it was a little squibber by Harrison Bader, but you take it. And I also note that the 2nd run that the Mets scored, which ended up being the winning run, was on a walk from Brandon Nimmo. And if the ABS system, which is the system that's in place in the minor leagues where they can challenge calls, was there for Chris Stratton, that at bat might have gone differently. But you look at it now, if you're watching on YouTube, 3 pitches that touched the strike zone according to what the ABS would have, but they were all on the edges. Nimmo got all those calls his way, and a 4-pitch walk allowed a 2nd run to score. I will say, though, hey, if Nimmo got some of those strikes called on him, who knows? Maybe he would have got a hit and done more damage. But 2 runs was all the Mets needed because their bullpen was so good. Like I said, the starters pitched to a draw. It turned into a game of bullpens. And for the Mets, they were able to go to their 7th, 8th, 9th inning guys, which was Adam Ottavino to Brooks Raley to Edwin Diaz. And they delivered. Both Ottavino and Raley, 2 strikeouts and a pair of perfect innings. Edwin Diaz was on his way to a perfect inning, then gave up a home run to Vinny Pasquantino, but it was a solo shot, came right back, got the final out to pick up his 3rd save of the season. And the New York Mets, with their 3rd series victory in a row, they're rolling right now. They're going to play the Pirates next at home. We'll talk about that series in the final segment, but I want to spend some more time on Jose Butto, really dive into what went right for him in this start, and also detail his journey to this point, So we'll get to that in just a minute. First, though, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience are what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win with eBay Motors. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit is only available to U.S. customers. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. I've been told I'm a competitive person, and my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent, as you do in the iconic, of course, Monopoly games, but charge them rent, and you can also steal from them, which is what makes Monopoly pretty cool. You can rob their vaults for riches that I take home myself, and the leaderboards show me who is the biggest Monopoly tycoon. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Now, before I break down what went right today for Jose Butto, I want to take you on his whole journey because I think it really showcases how the Mets are developing their players and just the work that Butto has put in. So they signed Butto back in 2017 when he was 19 years old. He's from Venezuela. His first appearance with the Mets came in the Dominican Summer League in 2017. He then came stateside in 2018, played short seasons, eventually ending up in Brooklyn when they were still a short season team. 2019 was his real breakout as a prospect. He pitched to a 3.62 ERA in 112 innings with 109 strikeouts in Colombia, which was then low A. And by the end of the season, he was ranked number 19 in the Mets system by Baseball America heading into 2020. Here's what they had his outlook as back then. They say Butto is primed to move quickly as a fastball changeup reliever if the Mets want to pursue that route. He would need to make dramatic progress with his curve to profile in the rotation. But they've always loved his fastball and changeup. All right, so now you go to 2021. Now, this is after no season 2020, but scouts were able to see him at the alternate site and get a read on how he looked. He went all the way up to number 13 by Baseball America. They said it an improved curveball, which explained that bump. They said at the time, quote, he's the Mets' most under-the-radar future starter. That looks pretty good a couple years later. 2021, he splits the season between high A and double A, pitched to a 3.83 ERA in 20 starts with 110 Ks and 98 and two-thirds innings pitched. This is where he was ranked at number 11 by Baseball America heading into the 2022 season. That was the highest they ever ranked him. The scouting report was very similar, just raving about the fastball and the changeup, particularly the changeup, but they still said he needed to develop his curveball. He needed that third pitch, that out pitch he could throw against right-handed batters. I mean, the changeup works against both sides, but particularly against lefties. So he needed that one more put-away pitch. 2022 pitches primarily in Double A, had a 4 ERA and 92 and a third innings pitched, made 8 appearances in Triple A, had one bad start with the Mets, but in Triple A, he had a 2.45 ERA and 36 and two-thirds innings. So now, after that season, he ends up falling to number 18 in the Mets system heading into last year. Again, the scouting report, very similar. Changeup's awesome, fastball's good, need a third pitch. Curveball's not there. He also had a slider at the time, and neither pitch graded out very well by Baseball America. Here's what they said. They said, quote, based on the strength of his 2 primary pitches and solid average control, Butto has a chance to fill a swingman role for a contending team. Then he pitches last year. He got lit up in Syracuse, a 5.93 ERA in 19 starts, only 82 strikeouts and 91 innings pitched. The big leagues, he did fare well, though. 3.64 ERA in 42 innings. Baseball America had him going into this season at number 20 in the Mets system. They highlight the fact that he added a two-seam fastball, so that gave his fastball another look. And sometimes with the ABS system challenging the strikes, his rising fastball up in the zone would get challenged, and he would end up in a situation where he was losing strikes. So that's why he developed a two-seam. And also a lot of improvements with the slider, despite all of that, because of him being an extreme fly ball pitcher, as they say, quote, without excellent stuff or control, they believed he could serve as a long reliever slash swingman, basically had him in the Trevor Williams role. They literally cite Trevor Williams from the 2022 Mets season in the scouting report for Butto for what to expect from him this year, which I think was fair. But now we saw him pitch today. And I'll tell you what, so far this year, I could say that the most impressive starting pitcher we have seen is Jose Butto. Does that mean I think he's better than Luis Severino or Sean Manaea? I'm not going to go that far, but he's made 2 starts. They've both been quality starts. And I think this start against the Royals was the best start of the season. 9 strikeouts, 6 scoreless, pitching against an ace on the other side where any run could have cost the Mets this game. And Butto delivered. And you look at the arsenal, 4-seam fastball. Oh, not a pitch that he's getting hurt on. Getting flyouts with it. 2-seam fastball, which Baseball Savant or Statcast is categorizing as a sinker. Gives him that other offering to get the ball on the ground, get a double play ball when he needs one. The changeup, though, the pitch that we've heard about Jose Butto for years, disgusting. As I mentioned, first 5 strikeouts, all swinging through the changeup. Now, he had 9 strikeouts again. 8 of the 9 were all swinging. You guys swinging through fastballs or fouling off fastballs into Alvarez's glove. You look at his slider, he got 4 whiffs on 7 swings, 1 foul ball, 2 balls put in play. Changeup, he got 6 whiffs on 11 swings, 4 foul balls. So of 11 changeups that were swung at, only 1 was put in play, and it was, I don't know if it would be the last changeup he threw because I had to check what he got Vinny Pasquantino out with, but it was the second to last batter he faced, and Bobby Witt Jr. smoked a changeup that was left over the heart of the plate, 111 miles per hour for a double. But other than that, nobody touched Butto's changeup all day. Well, actually, there's my own answer. I just said it. 11 swings, 6 whiffs, 4 foul balls, that 1 hit. So whatever Pasquantino hit, it was not a changeup. I think it might have been a sweeper, which also could be his curveball. It just depends on how they categorize it. The curveball he was always developing. Maybe he's turned it into more of a slurve or a sweeper. But regardless, moving forward, he's got a 4-seam fastball, a 2-seam fastball, a changeup, and a slider that gives him a real 4-pitch mix. And what you also saw early in the game, the changeup is working. Next time through the lineup, throwing more fastballs to put guys away. So guys may be expecting the changeup. They maybe look for it out of the zone. Instead, I'm going to blow a fastball by you. Even if you identify it's a strike, you're going to swing through it. You're not going to catch up to it. So I really love what I saw from Jose Butto in this one, what we saw all through spring training, and we saw in his first start to battle back the way he did in that outing, where he didn't have his best stuff at first. He was at like 50 pitches and then 49 pitches through 2 innings and found his way through 6. I mean, this guy's giving you length. So you look ahead here at this starting rotation for the rest of this season. I'm not going to say, hey, Butto is there the whole year, but in the competition between Jose Butto, Adrian Hauser, and Tyler McGill for that, that other spot in the rotation when Kodai Senga comes back, because you're going to have Senga, Severino, Manaea, and Quintana. Those guys, barring health, are all going to be guaranteed rotation spots in my view. So when it comes to that competition for this 5th spot between Hauser, McGill, who's hurt, Peterson, who's hurt, I think Jose Butto can outpitch Adrian Hauser. And I really believe that there is a world where Jose Butto grabs a spot and is a solid starter for this Mets team. Is he going to give up home runs at some point this year? Yes. He's going to have some bad starts. It's natural. It's going to happen. Some good teams are going to get to him. At the same time, if he's giving you length and he's giving you a lot of good outings mixed in and he's striking out guys at this clip, there's a chance that Butto really does put his name on the map this year. And that would be a massive win for this organization, because developing pitching has not been their strength. The only guys they've had since the Jacob deGrom, Matt Harvey, Noah Syndergaard, Steven Matz, Zach Wheeler era that they developed, it's Peterson and McGill. And you can say Seth Lugo, but they didn't think he was a starter and kept him in the bullpen. Probably a mistake in retrospect. And they just haven't had a lot of success stories. If Butto is a solid rotation piece that they can have penciled in to that 4 spot in their rotation for the next 6 years, a massive win for this franchise. But right now, I'm looking forward to him making his next start. And as Carlos Mendoza said after the game, Jose Butto is not going anywhere right now. I think the earliest we'd see him bump from this rotation is Kodai Senga coming back, honestly. If Tyler McGill was ready, I don't know if he's going to bump Butto at this point, especially with how he threw the ball today. So great outing by Butto. Now let's talk Mets Pirates. We'll close the show there. First, though, today's episode is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or are looking for the extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic view at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. That's the #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Next up for the New York Mets is the Pittsburgh Pirates that come into town tonight. The Pirates enter with an 11-5 record. Nobody saw that coming. But if you look at their schedule, it does become a little bit more clear how that happened. They started the year playing the Marlins and the Nationals for their first 7, and they won 6 of 7 to open up their season. So they were 6-1, and since then, they're 5-4. Not bad, but it is worth noting. After that easy start, they faced the Orioles. They ended up winning a series against Baltimore, their most impressive series of the season. Then they split a 2-game set against Detroit, and over the weekend, and I guess starting on Thursday, they split a 4-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. So that's still impressive. But I will say that 11-5 looks a little bit more daunting than the Pirates might be. I'm not saying they're a bad team. They've been really good. They perform well. They're a team that is getting close to being on the other side of a rebuild. But we also saw the Pirates last year get off to a hot start and not sustain it. So I'm not 100% buying into the Pirates just yet. But we'll see firsthand this week if they really are that good. The offense has been very solid. They're 11th in OPS across baseball, 14th in home runs, 7th in runs scored. But also at the note, they scored 6 or more runs 6 times in their first 7 games. So really the first 6 wins. The loss was the one exception to scoring 6 runs. And since then, they've done that twice in the following 9. They won 9-2 today, though, and they faced Zach Wheeler and put up 4 runs against him. So it is a good lineup and one that the Mets will have to neutralize. We'll see how Adrian Hauser fares tonight. I'll talk about that a little more in a second here. But let's look at the Pirates pitching staff because there was a stat that sort of blew me away. They have a 3.48 ERA, which is good, and it actually leads the National League. The Mets are right behind. I didn't jot down that number. I think it was 3.51 potentially. It was close. That's not the stat that blew my mind, though. Here it is. The Pirates rotation and their bullpen have an identical 3.48 ERA. So each of them as a unit has a 3.48 ERA, which of course means the entire team has a 3.48 ERA. The game 1 starter tonight will be Martin Perez, who was off to a great start this year. Through 3 outings, he has a 1.89 ERA in 19 innings pitched. His last time out, he threw 8 strong against the Tigers, allowing just 1 run. Perez was really good in, I want to say was it 2022 when he was an all-star for the Rangers? I believe it was 22. Let me check and confirm that I'm right on that. And then last year, I know he struggled a bit more on again the Rangers, but he had 2.89 ERA in 2022 and was an All-Star. Last year, 4.45 ERA and was out of their rotation by the time they got to the playoffs. It's a good start for Perez. He is absolutely the type of pitcher that we've seen the Pirates have success with over the last couple of years. And guess what? Jose Quintana is another guy very similar to him who'll be starting game 2, who the Pirates had a lot of success with. So I'm not surprised he's gotten off to a good start. But what I will say is the Mets have fared very well against left-handed pitching up to this point this season. I guess that's disregarding today against Cole Reagans, but they have an 817 OPS against lefties. Francisco Lindor, much better from his right side than his left. Francisco Alvarez, good against lefties. Harrison Bader hasn't slugged against lefties, but is hitting 357. Starling Marte is hitting 462 against left-handed pitching. Jeff McNeil hitting 357. So the Mets have a good line to put out there against lefties. Brett Beatty has held his own. I don't expect him to be on the bench 2 games in a row. I'd imagine he starts against Perez. And other than that, you would assume that it's the Bader Taylor outfield with Nimmo and Starling Marte DHs is my guess, unless they decided they wanted to give Nimmo a blow instead. But that's what I would expect for game 1. The rest of this series is a little bit more murky because the Pirates have not announced any starters yet. I think that's because Jared Jones would be in line to pitch game 2, but he is a rookie who up to this point this season has not had to go on regular rest. It's been 5 days rest between each of his starts. So I don't know if that's why they haven't announced a starter. Could they go to the minor leagues for a spot starter? Is it a bullpen game situation? That's what we'll have to talk about tomorrow, depending on what the Pirates decide. If it is Jones, it'll be fun to watch him. It might not be fun if he's really good against the Mets, but he's one of these young pitching prospects. He's 22. He was a second-round pick back in 2020. He is number 3 in the Pirate system, according to Baseball America. Paul Skeens, of course, is the guy we're all waiting to watch, number 1 overall pick last year, who could be up any day now. It won't be against the Mets. He pitched on April 12th, I think. Regardless, he's not going to pitch in this series. So Jones is the guy that got the first crack at this rotation, and so far he's got a 4 ERA in 3 starts, but that doesn't tell the whole story. He has 25 strikeouts and 18 innings pitched. So that's really impressive stuff. He has given up 4 home runs, so I do believe the Mets are going to see him, whether it's game 2 or game 3. I think they'll see Jared Jones, and that's your hope, is that he might strike out a lot of guys, but make it tough on them and maybe hit some home runs. You can end up beating this guy, especially if you get a couple on base whenever that home run happens. If Pete Alonso can come up in the first inning with 2 runners on and he puts one in the seats, well, the Mets have a good chance winning that day. Now they'll have Jose Quintana going up against Jared Jones or whoever they throw out there for game 2, and then Luis Severino for game 3. If it is Jared Jones in game 2, then the rotation is going to stay as is with their current 5-man group, and Bailey Falter would get the game 3 start. Falter has a 4.20 ERA through 3 starts. 0.93 whip is really good, but only 16 strikeouts and 15 innings pitched. For those of you who might remember, Falter was with the Phillies years ago. I don't think he's that good of a pitcher. I think the Mets would tee off on Falter. Could be another reason that they go with a spot start or somebody else, whether it's a bullpen game on game 2, so that Jared Jones pitches the 3rd game, give him an extra day, and Bailey Falter could avoid facing the Mets. That's my guess on why they haven't announced starters. But again, there's every chance that it's just a formality or something like that, and we'll find out tomorrow. It is, in fact, Jones and Falter for games 2 and 3. But whatever they decide, I will break it down more on tomorrow's edition of Locked On Mets. Here you go. This is a chance. You win this series, the Mets will be 500. They're inching closer and closer and closer. They're 7-8. Sweep this series, they'll be over 500, but it has been a fantastic last, whatever it's been, week and a half for the Mets, for them to get out of that early season 1-5 start that was so disappointing. They're playing good baseball. Let's see if they keep it up against this Pirates team at home before they get Thursday off. Head out west against the Dodgers and the Giants. So this is the time to stack some wins. We'll see how they end up faring. I'll be back tomorrow as always. Thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. trying to make a push to 9,000 subs. So I appreciate all of you who subscribe. If you want to be a Locked On Mets insider, be part of our texting service, get the lineup texted to your phone every day, amongst other perks. You can find the link in the episode description or go to subtext.com/LockedOnMets. Follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. Now, for your second listen or your second watch, head over to YouTube. Check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 streaming channel that covers everything the world of sports with our local experts from each team and our league-wide experts from each league. By Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube.